To deploy a Uniswap Add Liquidity contract, you need to understand the basics of Uniswap and liquidity provision. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange protocol that allows users to trade tokens and provide liquidity. Providing liquidity means adding tokens to a liquidity pool to facilitate trading and earning fees. First, you need to install the necessary tools including Node.js and Truffle Suite. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment and Truffle Suite is a set of tools for building and deploying smart contracts. You also need to install the Uniswap protocol smart contracts and the Web3 library to interact with the Ethereum blockchain. Next, you need to set up a new Ethereum account and fund it with Ether. You can use a service like MetaMask to create and manage your Ethereum account. You also need to obtain the tokens you want to add liquidity to the Uniswap pool. To deploy the Uniswap Add Liquidity contract, you need to write and compile a smart contract using the Solidity programming language. The contract should import the Uniswap protocol contracts and define the necessary functions to add liquidity to the pool. You can use the Uniswap protocol documentation as a reference to write the contract. After writing and compiling the contract, you need to deploy it to the Ethereum blockchain using Truffle Suite. You need to specify the contract name and the Ethereum account you want to use to deploy the contract. You also need to specify the tokens you want to add liquidity to the Uniswap pool. Once the contract is deployed, you need to call the Add Liquidity function to add the tokens to the Uniswap pool. You need to specify the amount of tokens you want to add in the Ethereum account you want to use. To add the liquidity, you can use the Web3 library to call the Add Liquidity function and interact with the Ethereum blockchain. It is essential to follow best practices when deploying a Uniswap Add Liquidity contract. You should test the contract thoroughly before deploying it to the Ethereum blockchain. You should also use a secure and reliable Ethereum account to deploy the contract and add liquidity to the Uniswap pool. In conclusion, deploying a Uniswap Add Liquidity contract requires a good understanding of Uniswap and liquidity provision. You need to install the necessary tools and set up a new Ethereum account and fund it with Ether. You need to write and compile a smart contract and deploy it to the Ethereum blockchain using Truffle Suite. You need to call the Add Liquidity function to add the tokens to the Uniswap pool and follow best practices to ensure the security and reliability of the contract.